Hey, welcome back to part 2, Bio in the Bathtub, looking at genotype, phenotype, and Punnett Square. Now this time, we've already talked about the genotype and the phenotype in the previous video. So what we're going to do is we're going to take these two concepts and now apply it to a Punnett Square. Okay? So now what this basically happens is a Punnett Square is taking two parents and combining them together to create offspring chances. So here are our genotypes once again. We're going to continue with baldness because it's already here. We have the homozygous dominant traits of capital B, capital B. We have the heterozygous of capital B, lowercase b, and the homozygous recessive of two lowercase b's. So what we're going to do is we're going to combine two parents. So let's use homozygous dominant and homozygous recessive, just for argument's sake. Okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to put one in each. Okay? And now we're going to combine each of them together. So we have a capital B, lowercase b, capital B, lowercase b. And as you notice, each square ends up with two, just like we did over here in our genotype. Because that's what we're creating, is we're creating our genotypes, and then it can figure out what the phenotype will be based on our outcome. And then once we do the top, we can move on to the bottom. And again, order doesn't matter how you do it in, as long as you are applying two, just like in the multiplication table. Top and the sides come together, top and the sides come together, and you eventually create your genotypes. So what we've discovered here is if we mix a homozygous dominant with a homozygous recessive, we end up with all kids being heterozygous. So as a result, we know that we will have no baldness in 100% of the offspring, based on this example. Now again, it's more complex, but as the basics of it, this is how we can combine it together and create a difference. Okay? So now let's change it. Okay? We're going to combine two different parents. Let's change this and let's mix let's go heterozygous and a heterozygous. Okay, so I'm going to change two of my parts here, which means I have to change my outcomes. Okay, so I'm going to erase these really quickly here. Okay, so now we're going to repeat our process once again. I have capital B, capital B, lowercase b, capital B, lowercase, recessive, and now I have a completely new genotype setup that I can look at. I figured out that I have 25% is homozygous dominant, 50% is heterozygous, and 25% is homozygous recessive. And if I wanted to do the phenotypes, I would find out that I would have no baldness, because I still have that dominant gene keeping the baldness away. But once we hit here, there is that potential for baldness to appear, right? Because in these combination of parents, there's a 25% chance that those recessive genes could mix, right? And this is why in some cases certain traits can be ignored, especially if it's recessive, and we'll show you in the final example why some can be mixed. So for example, let's go homozygous dominant mixing with a heterozygous individual. Okay? And I'll do this one really, really fast, just so you can see I'm not going to put the phenotypes on. I'll just do the genotypes. Okay? So we have capital B, capital B. Okay? So now our values have changed. Okay? I have 50% dominant, 50% heterozygous, and because there is no way to get a recessive, that recessive trait can't continue. Now, if someone of heterozygous marries someone who's heterozygous or homozygous recessive, that gene can now reappear in the gene pool. Hope this has helped. Have a great day.